The morning started like a normal hero world morning. People walked to school. Buses stopped at red lights. Giant screens played hero ads with bright smiles. A woman bought coffee and checked her phone at the crosswalk. A kid pointed up at a billboard and said, "All Might's name," like it was a magic word. Then the sky tore open. It was not a storm cloud. It was not a portal like in a movie. It was a sharp rip, like the air had been cut. Light spilled out in a thin line. The line widened. A small, smooth pod dropped through it and fell fast, spinning once before it caught itself and slowed. It hovered above the street. People froze. Some screamed. Others lifted phones. Because in this world, anything strange might be a villain stunt or a hero drill. The pod landed with a clean thud. It cracked the sidewalk. Dust lifted in a circle. The pod's door slid open like it was bored. A figure stepped out. He was short, but he did not look small. He moved like the street belonged to him. His skin was pale. His eyes were red and calm. His lips held a thin smile that did not match the screams around him. He looked left. He looked right. He did not rush. He did not flinch when a car alarm started. He lifted one hand and pointed a single finger at a streetlight. A thin purple beam shot out. The streetlight split in two so cleanly that the top half fell straight down like it had been placed there. The beam did not make noise. It did not explode. It was just done. The crowd went silent for half a second. Then panic hit like a wave. People ran in every direction. Some fell. Some grabbed children. A few tried to film while backing away. The alien, because no one had a better word, watched it all with mild interest. His head tilted, like he was watching a test. "So," he said, voice smooth and polite, "who is responsible for this planet?" No one answered. A man in a suit tried anyway, shouting that this was Japan and the police were coming. The alien smiled wider. "Wonderful. A local office. That will make the paperwork easier." Two heroes arrived first. Not the top names. Two fast response pros in patrol gear. They landed between the alien and the crowd, hands up, voices firm. They shouted the standard lines. "Identify yourself. Stand down. You are under arrest." The alien blinked slowly, like he had heard a child argue with an adult. A third hero dropped in from above in a burst of heat. Flames rolled behind him like a cape. Endeavor hit the ground hard enough to crack the street again. His eyes locked on the stranger. Civilians cried out with relief. Endeavor was here. The #1 hero. The man who looked like he could burn the sky. Endeavor's voice came out sharp and controlled. "Unknown villain, you will surrender. Now." The alien looked at Endeavor's flames, and then at Endeavor's face. "Oh," he said softly. "You're in charge of enforcement. How convenient." Endeavor did not answer. He moved. A wall of fire rushed forward, hot and loud. The air shook. The street's paint bubbled. People far back felt the heat and screamed again. The alien lifted one hand. The fire stopped. Not blocked. Not pushed aside. Stopped, like someone had paused a video. The flames hung in the air for a heartbeat. Then they broke apart into drifting sparks, falling down like harmless embers. Endeavor's eyes widened for a fraction of a second. He did not like surprises. The alien stepped forward, walking through the fading heat as if it was warm rain. He reached out and tapped Endeavor's chest with one finger. Endeavor flew backward. Not thrown with a punch, not blasted by an explosion, just pushed, like a toy on a table. Endeavor smashed through a parked bus and skidded across the street, carving a deep line in the pavement before he stopped. The crowd screamed louder. The alien looked down at his own finger, then back at Endeavor. He sounded almost disappointed. "That was your best opening," he said. "How charming." Endeavor rose, smoke and fire curling around him. He was angry now. He was also careful. He could feel it. This was not normal. Sirens wailed in the distance. More heroes were coming. The alien listened to the sirens like they were music. He lifted his finger again, pointing up at the sky. A purple blast shot straight upward. The clouds split apart in a perfect line. The blue sky showed through like a clean cut. The sound came a moment later, a deep crack that rattled windows for blocks. People stopped running just to stare. The alien floated a few feet off the ground, hands behind his back, like a manager waiting for a meeting to start. "Bring whoever leads this planet," he said, voice still calm. "And please," his smile sharpened, "don't waste my time." Deku was in class when the first videos hit the group chats. At first, he thought it was another villain attack. The world had those. But the clips were different. The camera shook, and yet the picture showed something that did not fit any quirk profile he had ever studied. A finger beam. No device, no support gear, no visible limit. A man floating without any visible movement. A strong pro-hero, Endeavor, getting pushed away like he weighed nothing. Deku's stomach tightened. He leaned toward the screen, eyes wide, brain moving fast. He paused and replayed. He watched the alien's posture. He watched his eyes. He watched the way he looked at people like they were numbers. That look scared Deku more than the beam. Aizawa walked into the room with his capture scarf already on. His hair was messy like always, but his face was harder than usual. "Phones away," he said. His voice was calm. That calm was what made everyone obey. The room settled. Even Bakugo shut up. Aizawa looked at them, one by one. "Something is happening in the city. It is not a training exercise. Do not leave campus. Do not go looking for a fight." Bakugo's eyes flared. "Why not? If it's a villain?" Aizawa cut him off with a simple look. "Because I said so." All Might stepped into the room behind Aizawa. Not in his muscle form. In his thin form, shoulders still straight, eyes steady. The sight alone made the class go quiet. All Might's voice was gentle, but serious. "Everyone, listen. We do not know what this is yet. We will protect people. That is what heroes do." Deku felt his chest loosen a little at that. All Might's words always did that. But the fear stayed underneath. A screen turned on at the front of the class. Nezu's face appeared. His small eyes were sharp. He spoke fast, but clear. "Students, you will remain here. Pro-heroes and faculty will handle the situation. This is not a matter of bravery. It is a matter of scale." Scale. That word landed heavy. Nezu continued. "We have received reports from multiple agencies. The unknown hostile is not registering as a quirk user on our systems. His energy output is unfamiliar." Deku's brain locked onto the phrase, "unfamiliar energy output." That meant... Aizawa stepped forward, voice low. "If it's not a quirk, erasure might not work. Understand that. Some of you think my eyes solve everything. They do not." Kirishima swallowed. "Sensei, is Endeavor okay?" Aizawa's jaw tightened. "He's alive." Bakugo's fists clenched. He looked like he wanted to explode the desk. "So we just sit here?" All Might looked at him. "We prepare. We learn. We keep people safe. And we wait for the right moment." Deku nodded, even though no one asked him to. His mind was already building notes. Not a plan to win. Not yet. A plan to understand. At the same time, in a government building across town, the Hero Public Safety Commission was doing the thing it did best. It was not cheering. It was not panicking in public. It was turning fear into orders. Large screens played drone footage. The alien floated above an evacuation zone now. He was not chasing people. He was not looting. He was watching. A woman in a suit spoke without emotion. "We need containment. We need to reduce public footage. We need a unified message." Another official shook his head. "You can't hide this. Look at the sky. He cut the clouds." The first woman did not blink. "Then we control the story. We call it a new villain. We say heroes are responding. We prevent collapse. A third voice said, and if heroes can't respond? Silence followed. Then a calm voice from the back. They will respond, the voice said. They have no choice. Hawks was there, leaning against a wall like he had all day to stand. His wings were folded tight. His eyes were tired, but focused. He had been in the air already. He had seen the alien up close. He had watched Endeavor get pushed away. Hawks did not say fear out loud, but it sat in his chest like a stone. The commission head turned to him. Hawks, what did you see? Hawks spoke carefully. He didn't act like a villain trying to win a fight. He acted like someone checking the strength of the world. And his power? Hawks exhaled. It's not like any quirk I've seen. It's too clean. Too easy. Endeavor hit him first, hard. It did nothing. The head's fingers tapped the desk. Can he be negotiated with? Hawks remembered the alien's smile and the way he asked for whoever leads the planet, like he expected a receptionist to bring them. He can be talked to, Hawks said, but I don't think he cares. Across the city, on a high rooftop, the alien floated again. He had moved to a spot where cameras could see him. It felt like a choice. He looked down at the streets as evac teams moved people out in long lines. He watched rescue workers carry the injured. He watched heroes build temporary barriers. His red eyes narrowed slightly. This world has a very strange habit, he murmured. It treats chaos like a job. He drifted lower, just enough for a loudspeaker to reach him. A pro-hero with a megaphone shouted, trying to keep his voice steady. Unknown hostile, identify yourself, state your demands. The alien looked at the megaphone like he had never seen one. How cute, he said. Then he raised his voice, speaking loud enough for the street below. My demand is simple. Surrender. He smiled again. And please have the proper documents ready. I dislike delays. Far away, deep under an abandoned building, another set of eyes watched the same footage. All for One sat in shadow, hands folded. The screen's light made his mask look like a smiling skull. Dr. Garaki stood beside him, shaking with excitement. It's not a quirk, Garaki whispered. It can't be. The energy it's outside our system. All for One's voice was soft. Outside our system, he repeated, like he was tasting the words. Garaki's eyes shone. If we could study it. All for One's head tilted. Study is one option. He watched the alien float above the city like a king above a crowd. Another option, All for One continued, is to speak the language he understands. Garaki swallowed. Control? All for One's laugh was quiet. Opportunity, he corrected. A new piece has arrived on the board. Back at UA, All Might stood with Nezu and Aizawa in a secure room. Maps covered the screens. Evacuation routes flashed. Hero teams moved like colored dots. All Might's eyes stayed on the alien's image. Nezu spoke with fast precision. We do not have a winning fight plan. All Might did not argue. Then we do not fight to win. We fight to save. Aizawa's voice was flat. He's testing us. He wants a reaction. All Might nodded. Then we give him one he can't predict. We show him we do not break. Nezu's ears twitched. We establish a functional status quo. We keep him talking. We keep citizens moving. We collect data. Aizawa stared at the map. And we plan contingencies for the moment he gets bored. All Might's gaze hardened. He will not be allowed to get bored. Outside, the alien hovered and waited, like someone standing in a hallway outside an office door. He looked down at the people scrambling to respond. Come now, he said, almost kindly. Show me who thinks they can stop me. Hawks flew low over the city, using the wind like a road. He did not fly high. High meant visible. High meant a target. The alien's finger beam was thin, but Hawks had seen what thin could do. Below him, evac lines moved in waves. Police guided traffic. Heroes carried children and the elderly. Rubble was cleared. Fires were put out. It looked organized. Hawks admired that, even in fear. Hero society had many problems, but it could move fast. He landed on a rooftop where Endeavor stood, arms crossed, flames smaller now but still simmering. Endeavor's eyes were fixed on the alien in the distance. His jaw was tight. Hawks did not waste words. "He's waiting." Endeavor's voice came out like gravel. "He pushed me like I was nothing." Hawks kept his tone steady. "Then we don't do solo pride moves. We do a plan." Endeavor's gaze snapped to him. "You think I don't know that?" Hawks held it. "I think you hate it." Endeavor's flames flared, then calmed again. He hated it. Hawks was right. On another building, Best Jeanist adjusted his collar and watched the streets below. He spoke into comms, calm and formal. "All teams, maintain evacuation priority. Do not engage unless ordered." On a nearby street, a group of heroes formed a moving wall to guide civilians away. A child looked back and asked if the heroes would win. The hero answered, "We will keep you safe." Not, "We will win." That difference mattered. Then the order came. The Commission's voice on the line was sharp. "We need him away from dense zones. Lead him to the designated field area, now." Hawks looked at Endeavor. "We bait him." Endeavor's eyes narrowed. "With what?" Hawks's mouth twisted. "With the one thing he seems to enjoy." Endeavor understood at once. "Attention!" Hawks lifted into the air and flew straight toward the alien. The alien noticed him immediately. Hawks felt it like a spotlight. He slowed mid-air and spread his wings wide, making sure cameras could see. He raised a hand in a casual salute. "Hey!" Hawks called, voice loud and clear. "If you want the person in charge, you might want to follow the people who actually do the work." The alien blinked. A small smile returned. "You are very confident for someone who is clearly weak." Hawks shrugged in the air. "It's not confidence. It's customer service. You look like a guy who wants an appointment." The alien's eyes narrowed in interest. Hawks's heart pounded, but his face stayed light. Inside, he was measuring distance, angles, and escape lines. The alien drifted closer, floating without effort. "Customer service," he repeated, amused. "How delightful." Hawks pointed, guiding. "This way. Big open area. Less noise. Easier talk." The alien looked toward the direction Hawks pointed. Farther out, there was a wide zone near the coast, cleared by evacuation teams. It had open ground, fewer buildings, and fewer people. He could sense it. This world was trying to lead him. He smiled anyway. "Very well," the alien said. "I do appreciate an organized planet." He followed. Hawks kept a safe distance and led him like a bright lure, all while comms exploded with updates. As they moved, Endeavor and a team of top pros took positions around the open zone. They did not stand close together. They spread out to reduce damage from any single attack. On a command screen at UA, Nezu watched the live feed and nodded. "Good. He's moving where we want." Aizawa stood beside him, scarf ready, eyes tired but focused. "If he kills people, I'm going in." Nezu did not look away. "If you go in at the wrong time, you die." Aizawa's voice was flat. "I know." All Might stood behind them, hands clenched. He could feel the weight of every dot on the map. Every dot was a person. In the open zone, the alien floated down and looked around like a man inspecting a meeting room. "This will do," he said. Hawks landed on a light pole at the edge, wings half open. Endeavor stepped forward, flames rising again. Best Jeanist stood to one side, threads ready. Edgeshot was present too, nearly invisible, poised like a blade. A few other top pros formed a wide ring. They did not look like a cheering crowd. They looked like people walking into a disaster, because they had to. Endeavor spoke first. "You will leave this world." The alien tilted his head. "And you will make me?" Endeavor did not answer. He attacked. He did not throw a simple wall of fire this time. He layered heat into a tight blast, aiming to push the alien away from the ground and into the air, where collateral damage was lower. The blast hit. The alien moved a few inches back. Just a few. Endeavor's eyes sharpened. That was something. But it was still not enough. The alien lifted one hand and flicked his fingers. A wave of invisible force hit Endeavor like a truck. Endeavor slid back across the ground, boots digging trenches, flames sputtering as he fought to stay upright. Hawks moved instantly, shouting into comms. He's using some kind of force control, not a quirk. It's like he owns gravity. Best Genist fired cables of fabric threads like whips. They wrapped around the alien's arms, torso, and legs, pulling tight. The threads were strong enough to hold trucks. The alien looked down at them. He flexed once. The threads snapped, not slowly, but all at once, like they were string. Best Genist's breath caught. His hands tightened. He was used to measuring strength and leverage. This was not leverage. This was a different kind of scale. Edge shots struck, turning his body thin and fast, aiming for pressure points, aiming for the moment between movement. The alien's eyes shifted. Edge shot froze mid-strike, held in the air by invisible force, his body pinned like a note on a wall. The alien smiled. Clever. Very fast. He turned his head slightly, but still weak. Hawks's wings twitched. He wanted to dive in, to cut, to distract, but his instinct screamed at him to stay alive and keep intel flowing. On the command screen, Nezu spoke fast. "We need confirmation. Aizawa, attempt erasure." Aizawa was already moving in the shadows near the edge. He stepped forward, eyes wide, locked on the alien. His quirk activated. It always had a clear effect. The air around quirk users changed in a way Aizawa could feel, like pulling a plug from a machine. Nothing changed. The alien kept floating. His power did not flicker. His smile did not fade. Aizawa's stomach turned cold. He spoke into comms. "It doesn't work." That one sentence hit the whole network like a punch. Hawks felt it. Endeavor felt it. Best Genist felt it. This was not a quirk problem. This was something else. The alien's gaze slid to Aizawa. "Ah," he said, voice light. "So you have a power that turns off other powers." Aizawa did not flinch. "And you don't have one I can turn off." The alien's smile widened. "Correct." Then he moved. He vanished from where he was, appearing in front of Aizawa in a blink. Not a dash. Not a jump. One moment empty air. The next moment the alien's face close enough that Aizawa could see the smooth curve of his grin. Aizawa's capture scarf snapped forward like a snake. It wrapped around the alien's wrist. The alien looked down at it like it was a piece of lint. He lifted his other hand and tapped the scarf. The scarf's cloth tore cleanly down the middle. Aizawa's eyes widened for the first time. Not panic. Calculation. He had just lost one of his best tools with a touch. The alien leaned in slightly. "You are brave," he said softly, "or foolish. I suppose it's hard for humans to tell the difference." Aizawa's mind raced. If he stayed, he died. If he ran, he lost control of the moment. He chose a third option. He spoke. "You want the person in charge. This isn't it." The alien blinked, surprised, then amused. "You're still negotiating." Aizawa's voice stayed flat. "If you kill us all, you get a ruined planet. You said you wanted it organized." The alien's eyes narrowed. He did not like being talked to like a business partner, but he did like being right. He floated back, giving Aizawa his space. Not out of mercy, out of interest. "Fine," he said. "Let's hear it. Who is in charge?" Hawks cut in, voice smooth again, even while fear ran hot under his ribs. "It's complicated. We have heroes, agencies, licenses, and government groups. You'll have to pick your meeting." The alien looked confused for the first time. Licenses? Yes, Hawks said. Permission to do hero work. The alien stared at him. Then he laughed. A clean, cold laugh that made the air feel thinner. This planet gives people permission to save each other, he said. How adorable. He hovered higher, looking down at the ring of heroes. I've decided, he announced, loud enough for drones and cameras to catch. This world needs management. Endeavor shouted up at him, rage rising. We are not your property. The alien's smile sharpened. Every world is property, he replied. Some are simply late to accept it. He lifted his hand and pointed at the horizon. A distant hill line cracked as a beam sliced across the ground. It did not hit the heroes. It did not hit people. It was a warning line. The heroes stiffened. Hawks swallowed. The alien spoke calmly, like he was setting a deadline for a work project. Here is the offer, he said. You surrender peacefully. You keep your cities. You keep your little hero, games, as long as you obey. He paused, letting the silence stretch. And if you refuse, he continued, I will begin removing assets until you learn. Asset. He said it like people were chairs. On the UA command feed, Nezu's eyes narrowed. He's threatening mass casualties. All Might's hands clenched harder. He stepped closer to the screen. Aizawa's voice came through comms, low and urgent. We can't stop him. Not with force. We need time. Nezu nodded. Then we buy time. A new voice joined the line, calm and steady. All Might. I will speak to him, All Might said. Aizawa snapped his head. You can't. All Might cut in gently. I can. He looked at the screen, at the floating alien who treated the world like paperwork. All Might's expression was quiet, but firm. Send me in, he said. On the open ground, Hawks felt a shiver run through him when he heard that voice join the network. He looked toward the city line, like he could already see All Might coming. The alien tilted his head, listening to the comm chatter he could somehow sense, or maybe just guessing. He smiled again, patient and cruel. Good, he said. Bring me your symbol. Then, as if realizing something, he added with a small, pleased hum. Oh, how rude of me. He placed a hand on his chest. Mock formal. I am Lord Frieza, he said. Try to remember it. The name meant nothing to the heroes yet, but the way he said it made Hawks' skin crawl, like the name itself was a warning. And for the first time since he arrived, Frieza looked truly interested. Not because the heroes had impressed him, because someone important was finally coming. All Might arrived without a roar. There was no huge entrance, no dramatic music, no camera-ready pose. He came in a simple car, with tinted windows and a small escort. He stepped out in his thin form first, because he had to save his strength. He took one look at the open zone, the cracked ground, and the heroes spread out like pieces on a board. Then he breathed in, slow and steady. He changed. Muscle filled his frame in one sharp moment. His shoulders rose, his hair lifted, his eyes turned bright and focused. Even when fear lived in his chest, his face told the world something else. I am here. Hawks felt it hit him like a warm wave. He hated how much he needed that feeling right now. Endeavor's flames dipped for a second, like even they respected the moment. Aizawa stood at the edge with his scarf torn and his eyes tired. He did not look relieved. He looked worried, because the enemy was still floating above them, arms behind his back, smiling like a man waiting for a late meeting. Frieza's red eyes locked on All Might. Oh, Frieza said, so you really are a symbol. All Might stepped forward, boots crunching on broken pavement. He did not glare. He did not threaten. He spoke with a steady, gentle voice that had calmed children and criminals alike. I am All Might, he said, and I am here to talk. Frieza's smile widened, pleased. A polite planet. You don't deserve it. All Might kept his hands open at his sides. You called this world property. People are not property. Frieza tilted his head. Then why do you sell them hope on billboards? All Might's jaw tightened. Hawk saw it. Just a little. All Might answered anyway. Hope is not for sale. Hope is what keeps people standing when they are afraid. Frieza floated lower, still out of reach. Fear is what keeps people obedient. All Might's voice stayed calm. You do not have to do this. If you are lost, we can help you leave. Frieza blinked once. Then he laughed. It was a clean laugh, like a knife sliding out of a sheath. Lost, Frieza repeated. No, I arrived exactly where I wanted. He looked past All Might, down at the line of heroes and the distant evacuation routes. You have a system, he said. Rules, licenses, agencies. It's very cute. Hawks flinched at the word again. Licenses. Frieza's gaze returned to All Might. Tell me, Symbol, do you have a leader above you? A king? A president? Someone I can force to sign the planet over? All Might took a breath. That is not how our world works. Frieza's smile thinned. Then your world is inefficient. Endeavor stepped forward, unable to hold back. Stop talking to it like it's a person. All Might did not look away from Frieza. He is a person, All Might said quietly, and that is why words matter. Frieza's eyes narrowed in interest. You still think I can be reasoned with, he said. That's adorable too. All Might felt his time burning, like a candle in his chest. He kept his tone even. If you harm innocent people, All Might said, the heroes of this world will never stop. We will fight until we cannot fight anymore. Frieza's smile returned, slow and pleased. Finally, a real statement. He lifted one finger and pointed at a faraway empty hill line again. The purple beam cut across it, deeper this time. Stone split cleanly. Dust rose in a long line. No one could pretend it was a bluff anymore. All Might did not flinch. You are very strong, he said, but strength alone does not make you right. Frieza looked genuinely amused. And being right is important to you? All Might's eyes softened. Just a little. Being good is important. For the first time, Frieza's smile faded. Not because he was hurt, because he was bored by the word. Good, Frieza repeated. Bad. These are children's labels. He floated closer. The air around him felt tight, like the pressure before a storm. All Might held his ground. Frieza leaned in, close enough that All Might could see the smooth curve of his face and the calm cruelty in his eyes. I will make this simple, Frieza said. You will surrender. You will keep your cities. You will obey. All Might's voice dropped, firm. No! Frieza stared at him for a second. Then he tapped All Might's chest with 2 fingers. All Might flew backward. He did not explode. He did not shatter into pieces. Frieza was careful, like he was handling a fragile toy he still wanted to play with. All Might still hit the ground hard. The pavement cratered. Shock rolled through the hero line. Hawk's wings snapped open. All Might! Endeavor surged forward on instinct. Aizawa grabbed his arm. No! Endeavor's eyes burned. Aizawa's voice was flat and sharp. And if you go, you die. Then he kills more people. Stay on mission. Endeavor trembled with rage, but he stopped. All Might pushed himself up, coughing once. His smile was gone for a moment. Pain flickered in his eyes. Then he forced the smile back onto his face, because people were watching. Cameras were watching. A world was watching. He stood. That took more courage than any punch. Frieza watched him rise with interest, like a scientist observing a stubborn animal. Ah, Frieza said, you're not just a billboard. You are the reason they still walk outside. All Might's voice came out lower. If you want a fight, you will get one, but you will not get our obedience. Frieza sighed. So dramatic. He floated upward again, back to his relaxed posture. "I have decided," Frieza announced, loud and clear for the drones and the terrified people watching from far away. "This planet will be mine." He held up one hand like a teacher holding up a finger to quiet a class. "You have one day," he said. 24 hours. That is generous. Bring me your leaders. Bring me your documents. Bring me a proper surrender." He smiled, cruel and bright. "And if you do not," he continued, "I will begin removing assets." The word landed like poison. Frieza turned in the air and drifted away, moving toward the city skyline with casual speed. Hawks stared after him, heart hammering. All Might stood still, breathing hard. The open zone was quiet, except for wind and distant sirens. No one cheered. No one had won anything. All Might looked at the heroes around him and spoke into the comm line. "We hold the line," he said. "We protect people. We do not give him what he wants." Aizawa's eyes stayed hard. "What he wants is control." All Might nodded once. "Then we will not let fear control us first." Deku watched the footage from a small screen in the dorm common room. He did not blink. He saw All Might step forward. He saw All Might talk. He saw All Might get thrown like he was nothing. He felt something cold twist in his stomach. His classmates crowded behind him. Some held their breath. Some whispered All Might's name like a prayer. Bakugo didn't speak at all. His hands were clenched so tight his knuckles went pale. Todoroki's face was calm, but his eyes looked distant, like he was doing math inside his head and not liking the answer. Uraraka covered her mouth with her hand. Kirishima whispered, That wasn't even a punch." Deku's mind tried to do what it always did. It tried to make notes. It tried to find an opening. He rewound the clip again. Frieza moved like he was teleporting, but not exactly. It was speed. It was control. It was something that made normal reaction time meaningless. Deku's pencil scratched across his notebook. "Not a quirk," Aizawa confirmed. "Energy beams, force control, flight. No effort shown. Uses fear and deadlines. Talks like a boss." Deku stopped writing. His hand shook. All Might was the strongest person he had ever known, and Frieza had treated him like a nuisance. Deku felt small. He hated feeling small. All Might's words from earlier still echoed in his head. "We fight to save." Deku looked at the class around him. They were scared. He was scared too. He took a breath. He did not say, "We'll win." He said, "We have to keep people alive." It was a small sentence, but it was true. Bakugo finally spoke, voice rough. "If I was there, I'd—" Aizawa's voice cut through the room from the doorway. "You'd die!" Everyone jumped. Aizawa stood there, tired and dirty. His scarf was damaged. His eyes were red from strain. He walked in and looked at the screen, then at the students. "You are not fighting him," Aizawa said. "Not now. Not soon." Bakugo bristled. "So we just hide while he—" Aizawa stared at him. "You don't understand scale yet," he said. "This is not about bravery. This is about reality." Deku swallowed. "Sensei, is All Might okay?" Aizawa's jaw tightened. "He's alive. That's the best answer I can give." Silence filled the room. Aizawa spoke again, slower. "Listen, this enemy enjoys control. He enjoys fear. If you run around like scared kids, he wins twice." Deku nodded, even though his throat felt tight. Aizawa looked at them, one by one. "You want to help? Then you help in the ways that matter. Evac routes, shelter support, medical supply movement, keeping panic down." He paused. "And you train," he added. "Not to beat him, to become the kind of heroes who don't break when the world tells them they should." Bakugo looked away, angry, but he didn't argue. Deku stared at the screen again. Frieza's voice in the clip was calm when he said assets. Deku understood something then. This was not a villain who wanted revenge. This was a villain who wanted ownership. And that meant everyone was in danger, not just heroes. In the Hero Public Safety Commission building, the mood was not panic. It was pressure. Phones rang. Screens updated. Staff moved in tight lines. Orders were typed and sent. Statements were drafted and redrafted. A senior official stood at the center table and read a report out loud. Unknown hostile. Claims name Lord Frieza. Displays abilities outside quirk classification. Demonstrated overpowering of top pro heroes. Issued surrender deadline. 24 hours. Another official spoke quickly. We need to stop the public from hearing outside quirk. People will think heroes are useless. A third official snapped. People already think it. The first official raised a hand. We control what we can control. She looked at the room. New rules. All footage is to be delayed by 5 minutes for review. Any hero casualties are not to be reported immediately. We release a single message. Heroes are coordinating. Evacuation is underway. Citizens must stay calm. Someone asked, "What about the deadline?" The official's eyes hardened. We do not surrender. Not publicly. And privately? Someone whispered. No one answered right away. Hawks stood near the wall again, arms folded, wings held tight. He listened and felt his stomach turn. He knew how this worked. When fear rose, control tightened. When control tightened, trust broke. And trust was the only thing hero society was built on. The official turned to Hawks. Hawks, you are to maintain visual contact if possible. We need information. Hawks didn't smile this time. If I get too close, I might not come back. Then don't get too close, she replied. We need you alive. Hawks almost laughed. It wasn't funny. He thought of All Might standing up from a crater just so people would not lose hope. He thought of Frieza's smile. He spoke carefully. If we treat this like normal villain management, we lose, he said. The official narrowed her eyes. Then what do you suggest? Hawks paused. He chose his words like steps across ice. We need a plan that doesn't assume we can win a fight, he said. We need a plan that assumes we can only limit damage. The official's face tightened. She did not like that answer, but she did not reject it either. She only said, then bring me options. Hawks turned to leave. As he walked down the hallway, he passed a screen showing Frieza hovering near the skyline, like a dark star hanging over the city. Hawks felt something he didn't like. Not just fear, a kind of anger at how unfair it was, and a fear that the people in suits would make it worse. In a hidden room far from cameras, All for One watched the same screen. He leaned back, calm as always, as if the world was not shaking. Dr. Garaki bounced on his heels like a child who had found a new toy. This is extraordinary, Garaki whispered. His energy, his body, his power is not quirk-based. It is like a different law. All for One's voice was smooth. A different law, he repeated. Garaki's eyes shone. If I could take tissue samples. All for One lifted one hand. Garaki froze mid-sentence. All things in time, All for One said. He watched Frieza's posture, the relaxed hands behind the back, the calm smile, the way he spoke about surrender, like it was a form to sign. All for One understood that kind of mind. It wasn't like Shigaraki's rage. It wasn't like Endeavor's pride. It was colder than both. All for One turned his head slightly. Doctor, he said, tell me, what does a conqueror want more than destruction? Garaki blinked. Control? All for One nodded. Control, he echoed, and recognition. He tapped the arm of his chair. This world worships symbols. This alien seems to find that amusing. He may enjoy breaking it. Garaki swallowed. That could cause collapse. All for One's laugh was quiet. Collapse is not always bad, he said. Collapse creates openings. Garaki hesitated. But he is too strong, even for us. All for One's mask tilted, as if he was smiling under it. Strength is only one tool, he said. Pride is another. Boredom is another. He watched Frieza drift above the city like a king inspecting his new land. He is not here to run, All for One murmured. He is here to own. Garaki's hands trembled. So what do we do? All for One's voice stayed calm. We speak, he said. We offer him something he can use. Garaki frowned. What could we offer someone like that? All for One's tone sharpened just a little. Information, he said. Systems. Weak points. Humans who already bow. Garaki's eyes widened. You mean villains? All for One nodded once. Then he added, and a way to turn this world into a stable asset. Garaki shivered at the word, because it matched Frieza's word too well. All for One leaned forward. Prepare a courier, he said. Not a human. Something disposable. Something he can't scare into silence, because it has no fear. Garaki nodded fast. A Nomu. All for One's voice softened, almost pleased. Yes, he said. Send him a message. He paused. And doctor, he added, make it polite. Garaki blinked. Polite? All for One chuckled. A king likes manners, he said, even if he doesn't have any. Shigaraki watched from a ruined building, hands stuffed in his pockets, shoulders hunched. The League gathered around him in the shadows. They were not laughing. They were not celebrating. They were quiet. Because the thing in the sky didn't feel like a chance. It felt like a replacement. Dabi leaned against a wall, flames licking his fingers, eyes half-lidded. So that's the new monster, he said. He makes Endeavor look like a joke. Toga smiled too brightly, like she was hiding fear. He's kind of pretty, she said, in a creepy way. Spinner swallowed. If he takes over, what happens to us? Shigaraki didn't answer right away. He stared at the screen, watching Frieza's calm face, his easy floating, his clean beams. Shigaraki felt something twist in his chest. Not fear. Not exactly. Humiliation. He had been the future. He had been the wave that would wash hero society away. Now this alien hovered above the skyline and treated the world like paperwork. Shigaraki's fingers twitched. His decay wanted to spread. His body wanted to move. He heard All for One's voice in his head, like a hand on the back of his neck. Patience. Shigaraki hated that word. He thinks we're weak, Shigaraki said finally, voice low. Dabi's lips curled. We are, compared to him. Shigaraki's eyes narrowed. Then we don't fight him head on, he said. We make him bleed in the way he won't expect. Spinner frowned. How? Shigaraki's mouth twitched into a thin smile that didn't reach his eyes. We break his control, he said. We make his asset world dirty, messy, unstable. He looked up at the skyline, at the floating threat. If he wants ownership, Shigaraki whispered, then we make the property burn. Frieza floated above the city as the sun slid lower. From up here, the world looked neat. Streets like lines, buildings like blocks, people like dots. He liked neat. Neat meant controllable. He could sense the fear below him. It was thick. It was warm. It was delicious in a simple way. He could also sense something else. Stubbornness. This planet was not surrendering fast enough. They were moving people, yes. They were trying to speak, yes. But they were also clinging to pride. Frieza sighed. He had conquered worlds that begged, worlds that fought, worlds that tried to trick him. These humans were not special. Their only interesting trait was the hero system. They made strength into a job. They licensed it. They gave it a uniform. Frieza smiled faintly at the thought. The galaxy would laugh. He drifted closer to a giant digital billboard. It showed All Might. Smiling, pointing at the camera, words bright and cheerful. Frieza stared at it. A symbol. He remembered the way All Might stood back up after being tapped. That was not strength. Not real strength. But it was stubborn. Frieza lifted his hand and touched the edge of the billboard screen. The screen died. Not shattered. Not exploded. It simply went black. Cars below slowed as drivers stared. People on sidewalks looked up. A hush spread down the street like a shadow. Frieza spoke softly, but his voice carried. "Your symbols are fragile," he said, "and yet you cling to them." He floated down to street level, landing in the middle of an empty intersection that had been cleared by evacuation orders. A few police officers stood behind barricades, pale and shaking. A pro-hero stood with them, trying to look brave. Frieza looked at the hero. "What is your rank?" he asked. The hero swallowed. I'm licensed." Frieza blinked. "Licensed," he repeated like it was a strange flavor. He leaned closer. "Then show me your license." The hero's hands shook as he reached for his wallet. Hawks watched this from a rooftop far away through binoculars, heart pounding. He spoke into comms, voice tight. He's asking for hero IDs, Hawks said. "Like it's a joke." Frieza took the small card between two fingers and held it up to the light. He studied it like a contract. "This is how you decide who can use force?" he asked. The hero nodded, swallowing hard. Frieza smiled. Adorable. He flicked the card upward. It spun in the air. Then he shot a tiny beam through it. The card split into two clean halves that fluttered to the ground. The hero's face went white. It wasn't just a card. It was identity. It was years. It was pride. Frieza looked him straight in the eyes. "You don't need this," Frieza said calmly. "You need obedience." The hero trembled, not moving. Frieza turned his gaze to the police line. "I will give this world a chance," he said. "A day." He looked back up at the skyline. "If you are wise," he said, "you will send me someone who can sign." Then he rose into the air again, like the moment wasn't worth staying for. Hawks lowered the binoculars, throat dry. This wasn't just a threat. It was a lesson. Frieza was teaching the world that its rules did not matter. And people were learning. That night, All Might sat in a quiet room at UA, shoulders slumped. He was back in his thin form. His breathing was steady, but his face looked older. The tap had hurt more than he wanted anyone to know. Nezu stood across from him, small paws folded. Aizawa leaned against the wall, eyes half open. Deku stood near the door, trying to be invisible. All Might looked up and noticed him anyway. "Midoriya," All Might said softly. Deku stepped forward, notebook clutched like a shield. "Sir," he said. All Might gestured to the chair. "Sit." Deku sat. For a moment, no one spoke. Then All Might said, "I talked to him." Deku's chest tightened. "And?" All Might's smile was faint. "He is not interested in understanding us," he said. "He is interested in owning us." Aizawa spoke, voice flat. "We already knew." All Might's eyes flicked to him. "Knowing it is different than feeling it," All Might replied. Nezu's ears twitched. "We cannot defeat him by force," Nezu said. "At least not with anything we currently have." Deku swallowed. "So what do we do?" All Might looked at him, and his eyes were tired but warm. "We save people," All Might said. "We keep society from tearing itself apart." Deku's hands clenched around his notebook. "But he can kill." "I know," All Might said gently. Aizawa's voice cut in. "This is the real fight," he said. "Not fists, not beams. The fight is whether we become what he expects." Deku frowned. "What he expects?" Aizawa's eyes were sharp, even through exhaustion. "Fear," he said. "Obedience. Betrayal. People turning on each other." Nezu nodded. "Hero society is a machine held together by trust," Nezu said. "If trust breaks, we collapse without Frieza needing to lift a finger." Deku's throat tightened. He thought of the panicking crowds, the black billboard, the hero license cut in half like it was nothing. All Might leaned forward slightly. "Midoriya," he said, You always look for a way to win. That is not wrong. Deku nodded slowly. All Might continued. But sometimes, winning means holding the line long enough for the world to survive. Deku felt tears sting his eyes. He blinked them away fast. I understand, he whispered. All Might's smile softened. Good. Nezu's voice turned brisk. We will coordinate with pro-agencies to expand shelters and evacuation plans, he said. UA students will support those operations under supervision. No direct engagement. Bakugo would hate that, Deku thought. But Deku did not argue. Aizawa pushed off the wall. And we plan contingencies, he said, for boredom. All Might looked down at his hands for a second. Then he looked up again, and something hard settled in his eyes. We will not let him get bored, All Might said. Outside the window, the city lights glowed. And far beyond those lights, a small shape hovered in the dark sky, like a threat that didn't sleep. Near midnight, a black flying shape crossed the skyline. It wasn't a bird. It wasn't a plane. It was a Nomu, stitched and silent, carrying a small device strapped to its chest. Frieza noticed it instantly. He didn't turn his head. He didn't need to. The creature's presence was loud in the air, like a wrong note. With one lazy motion, Frieza lifted his hand. The Nomu froze in the air, pinned by invisible force. It struggled, muscles twitching. Frieza watched it like he was watching a bug trapped under glass. Then he tugged. The device on the Nomu's chest snapped free and floated into Frieza's hand. Frieza let the Nomu drop. It fell, limp, into the dark below. He looked at the device. It blinked with a small red light. A speaker crackled. A calm voice came through. Lord Frieza, the voice said smoothly, forgive the intrusion. My name is All for One. Frieza's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in interest. All for One, Frieza repeated. Cute name. The voice continued, polite and careful. You seek control. You seek order. This world has systems that may frustrate you. Frieza smiled faintly. You noticed. All for One's tone stayed calm. I can offer information, he said, and assistance. There are people here who already understand how to move in the shadows, how to make a world obey without constant destruction. Frieza floated slightly higher, as if settling into a more comfortable seat. And what do you want? Frieza asked. All for One chuckled softly. A place in the new order, he said. Protection, influence, a chance to shape what comes next. Frieza's smile sharpened. How honest, he said. How brave. He turned the device in his fingers like a coin. Tell me, Frieza said, are you strong? There was a pause, a very small one. All for One answered smoothly. Strong enough to be useful. Frieza laughed once, quiet and cold. Useful, he repeated. I do like useful things. He leaned closer to the speaker. Very well, Frieza said. Speak again soon. But understand this. His voice lowered. I do not share power, he said. I collect it. The device crackled. All for One's voice stayed polite. Of course, he said. I would expect nothing less from a lord. Frieza smiled wider, pleased by the manners. Then he crushed the device in his hand. Metal folded like paper. The call ended. Frieza looked out at the sleeping city. 24 hours, he thought. Let's see what they bring me. The next day did not feel like a day. It felt like a countdown. People did not go to work the same way. Schools closed, shelters filled, streets emptied in planned lines. Heroes moved in teams with clear roles: rescue, transport, crowd control, medical support. Deku wore a simple support vest and helped guide families into a UA-arranged shelter zone. Teachers and pros oversaw everything. He carried boxes. He calmed crying kids. He lifted debris with careful strength. He felt useful. He also felt helpless. Every time he looked up at the sky, he expected to see a purple beam. Bakugo worked nearby, sweating, furious, carrying heavy supplies like he wanted to punch the ground. "This is stupid," Bakugo muttered under his breath. Deku didn't argue. He just kept moving. Todoroki used ice to stabilize damaged walkways for evac lines. His face stayed calm, but his eyes were sharp, always scanning the sky. In a nearby command center, Hawks kept feeding intel to the network. He tracked Frieza's movement like someone tracking a hurricane that could choose where to hit. Frieza did not strike right away. That was the worst part. He floated near the skyline, visible enough to be a reminder, calm enough to make everyone imagine the worst. The commission prepared a statement. The government held emergency meetings. No one talked about surrender, but fear talked anyway, in whispers. And in quiet rooms, people asked questions they never thought they would ask. What if heroes can't protect us? What if we have to obey? What if we die? By late afternoon, Frieza finally moved. Not toward government buildings. Not toward UA. Toward the coast. Hawk spotted it first and felt his stomach drop. "Why is he heading that way?" Hawks whispered. Then he realized what sat out there. Tartarus. The prison built for the worst. The place full of power and hate. Hawks spoke into comms, voice tight. "He's going to Tartarus." Aizawa's voice came back instantly. "Of course he is." Nezu's voice followed. "He wants assets." Deku overheard the word through a nearby pro's radio. Assets. His chest tightened again. Frieza wasn't just threatening the heroes. He was turning the world into a list. And he had picked his next item. Tartarus sat like a block of darkness against the sea. It was made to hold monsters. It was made to resist quirks. It was made to survive riots and attacks. It was not made for something that didn't care about walls. Frieza hovered above the waves, looking down at the prison with mild approval. "Good," he said. "At least you put your dangerous people in one place." Below, alarms blared. Searchlights swung across the sky. Defensive teams took positions. Inside the prison, guards moved fast, faces pale. The warden barked orders. "Lock every level, seal gates, activate suppression systems." A guard shouted back, "Suppression won't matter if he doesn't have a quirk." The warden hesitated for half a second. Then he snapped, "Do it anyway. It slows quirk chaos." On the outside, pro-heroes arrived by boat and air, forming a wide perimeter. Endeavor stood on the deck of a patrol craft, eyes burning at the sight of Frieza in the sky. Hawks hovered beside him, wings spread, scanning. Best Jeanist arrived with support teams. Edgeshot moved silently among them. Aizawa was there too, face hard. His scarf was repaired as well as possible, but it still bore cuts. "All Might?" Hawks asked quietly. Aizawa's answer was short. "He's coordinating shelters and public comm. He can't be everywhere." Endeavor's jaw clenched. "He should be here." Aizawa looked at him. "And you think that changes the math?" Endeavor didn't answer. He hated the truth. Frieza drifted lower, above the prison's roof. A speaker system crackled to life. "Unknown hostile," the warden shouted through it, voice shaking but trying to sound firm. "You are approaching a maximum security facility. Turn back." Frieza laughed softly. "Facility," he repeated, amused. "You speak like this is a company." He tapped the air once. The loudspeakers died. Every light along the roof flickered. Frieza landed on the roof as gently as a leaf. Then he walked forward. A line of defensive guards raised weapons. Some had quirk-based gear. Some had stun weapons. Frieza looked at them like he was looking at paperwork stacked too high. "Move," he said. No one moved. Frieza sighed. He lifted one hand and pressed downward. The guards slammed to the roof as if a giant weight dropped on them. Weapons clattered. Their faces hit metal. They groaned, pinned. Frieza walked past them without looking down. Inside the prison, locks clicked as emergency systems tried to seal everything tighter. Frieza reached the main roof access hatch. He placed one finger on it. The hatch split in half. Not blown apart. Not melted. Split. Clean and neat. Frieza smiled. Much better. He floated down into the prison. The air inside felt cold. Lights flashed red. Doors slammed. Sirens screamed. Frieza drifted through hallways like he had a map. He passed cell after cell. Some prisoners shouted at him. Some begged. Some laughed like fools. Frieza didn't react. Then he stopped at a cell where a large man with scars stared out, eyes sharp and angry. The man didn't beg. He didn't yell. He simply stared back like he was measuring Frieza too. Frieza leaned closer. "You," he said, "you have presence." The prisoner spat at the glass. The spit froze in the air in front of Frieza's face, held by invisible force. Frieza's smile returned. "I like spirit," he said. "Spirit can be shaped." He flicked his finger. The spit shot back and hit the prisoner in the forehead. The prisoner roared and slammed into the glass, but the cell held. Frieza moved on. He kept drifting down, deeper. He reached a central control room where staff were trying to override locks and secure core systems. They turned and froze when they saw him. Frieza looked around. "Where is your manager?" he asked. A staff member stammered, "We have a warden." Frieza waved a hand. "Close enough." He floated closer to the main control panel. A guard stepped forward with a weapon. His hands trembled. "I said stop," the guard whispered. "Please." Frieza looked at him for a moment. Then, with a calm voice, he said, "I don't enjoy repeating myself." The guard's weapon bent in its hands like soft metal. The guard screamed and dropped it. Frieza turned back to the panel. He placed a hand on it and pushed. The screen cracked. The system died. Locks throughout the prison flickered. The warden's voice screamed over the intercom, now glitching from backup power. "Hold the lines! Do not!" Frieza lifted his head. "Silence," he said. The intercom died completely. Outside, Hawks felt the prison systems shift through his earpiece. He spoke into comms fast. "He's inside. He's messing with their controls." Endeavor's flames rose. "Then we go in." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "Our job is to prevent a jailbreak and keep him from turning this place into a weapon." Endeavor snarled. "That means stopping him." Best Jeanist spoke calmly. "We cannot stop him by force," he said. "We can only reduce catastrophe." Endeavor's rage shook, but he knew they were right. Hawks's eyes sharpened. "We can still force choices," he said. "We can make the situation less fun for him." Aizawa stared at the prison, thinking. "He wants assets," he said. "He wants to collect strong people." Hawks nodded slowly. "So we keep the assets from becoming a neat list." Endeavor grunted. "Meaning?" Hawks's voice went quiet. "Meaning we make this messy enough that he can't finish what he came for before his deadline ends." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "You want to waste his time?" Hawks nodded once. "We can't beat his power, but we can fight his schedule." Endeavor hated it. But it was something. They moved. Deep in the prison, Frieza reached a lower level where the air felt heavier. He could sense stronger wills down here, stronger hate, stronger hunger. He smiled. Now we're getting somewhere. A locked door blocked the corridor. It had layers of metal and quirk-resistant tech. Frieza tapped it. The door peeled open like paper. Inside, alarms screamed. Prisoners shouted. Some laughed wildly. One prisoner threw himself against his cell bars and snarled, eyes bright with madness. "Who are you?" the prisoner shouted. "Are you here to break us out?" Frieza looked at him. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I'm here to sort you." The prisoner blinked. "Sort?" Frieza lifted a hand. The prisoner floated off the ground inside his cell, pinned in the air like a specimen. Frieza's eyes narrowed, reading him. "Small," Frieza said. "Loud. Not useful." He flicked his fingers. The prisoner slammed back down and collapsed, coughing. Frieza floated onward, repeating the process. He was not freeing them. He was testing them. Outside, heroes breached the upper levels carefully. Not with bravado. With rescue gear and tight plans. Aizawa moved through shadows, eyes scanning, ready to erase quirks if villains broke free. Even if erasure did nothing to Frieza, it could still stop quirk chaos around him. Best Jeanist used his fibers to bind doors and reinforce weak points. Hawks darted through corridors, guiding prison staff to safer zones, pulling injured guards out, moving faster than panic. Endeavor stayed near the center path, a wall of heat ready to block mass escapes. Then the first real breach happened. A lock failed. A door opened. A group of prisoners surged out, screaming. Aizawa's eyes flashed. Their quirks died in an instant. Some stumbled. Some fell. "Down!" Aizawa barked. Hawks snapped feathers out like blades, not to kill, but to pin clothing to walls, to stop movement, to control. Best Jeanist's fibers wrapped around arms and legs like ropes. Endeavor's fire formed a barrier, forcing the surge back. They were winning that part. Then the air changed. A pressure rolled down the corridor like a weight. Everyone froze. Frieza drifted into view from the lower level, calm as ever, with several prisoners floating behind him in a line held by invisible force. They dangled like fish on hooks. Hawks' throat went dry. Aizawa stared, eyes hard. "He's taking them!" Frieza glanced at the hero line with mild annoyance, like they were clutter in a hallway. "Ah," he said, "the employees are trying to stop the hiring process." Endeavor stepped forward, voice shaking with fury. "You're not taking anyone." Frieza smiled. "Of course I am." He gestured at the floating prisoners. "These are criminals, yes? Dangerous ones?" No one answered. Frieza's eyes narrowed. "Your silence is agreement." Aizawa's voice cut in, flat. "They're contained. You're breaking containment." Frieza blinked. "Containment," he repeated. More business words. "I like this planet." Hawks' mind raced. If Frieza left with powerful criminals, the world got worse. If they fought him, they died. If they stalled, maybe. Hawks spoke, forcing a light tone that didn't match his fear. "If you're recruiting, you should at least do interviews," he said. "Background checks, references." Frieza looked at him. For a second, Hawks thought Frieza might kill him just for the joke. Then Frieza laughed softly. "Background checks," he said. "Fine." He floated closer to one prisoner, a muscular man with a hard stare. "Can you follow orders?" Frieza asked. The prisoner grinned. "Depends who's giving them." Frieza smiled back. Then he flicked his finger. The prisoner slammed into the wall so hard the wall dented. The man dropped, groaning. Frieza spoke calmly, like he was correcting an employee. "Wrong answer," he said. "Try again." The corridor fell silent. Hawks swallowed. Endeavor's fists shook. He wanted to burn Frieza so badly it hurt. But he didn't move. Aizawa's mind ran like a machine. He saw it clearly. Frieza wasn't just taking criminals. He was teaching everyone what resistance meant. Aizawa made a choice. He stepped forward and spoke to Frieza like he was talking to a dangerous animal. "If you want them," Aizawa said, "take them. But understand this. The more chaos you cause, the more time you waste cleaning it up." Frieza tilted his head. "Are you threatening me with inconvenience?" Aizawa's voice stayed flat. "I'm telling you the truth. If this place collapses, you don't get a neat list. You get a mess." Frieza stared at him. Then, slowly, he smiled again. "You're clever," Frieza said. "Very well. I will keep things neat." He lifted his hand. Every prisoner in the corridor, free or pinned or fighting, slammed to the ground at once, held by crushing, invisible force. Heroes dropped too, forced down to one knee, muscles screaming. Hawks gritted his teeth, wings trembling. He couldn't move. Endeavor strained, flames sputtering. Aizawa's eyes widened. He felt his ribs compress. He couldn't breathe right. Frieza floated above them all, calm as ever, like gravity was his toy. "See?" Frieza said. "Neat." He looked down at the heroes. "You should be grateful," he added. "I could turn this place into dust, but I won't." He smiled. "I prefer ownership intact." Then the pressure lifted. Heroes gasped, sucking in air. Hawks' lungs burned. Frieza drifted backward, carrying his chosen prisoners in the air behind him like a parade. He looked at Hawks one more time. "Send my message," Frieza said. 24 hours end soon. Bring me someone who can sign." And then he rose upward through the prison levels like the building was not even there. He left a silence behind him that felt heavier than the sirens. Deku was not inside Tartarus. He was where Aizawa wanted him to be, helping people. But when emergency broadcasts hit the shelters, he saw the footage anyway. He saw Frieza in the prison corridors. He saw prisoners floating behind him like trophies. He saw heroes forced to their knees like the world itself had pushed them down. Deku's hands went cold. A child in the shelter started crying, asking if the monster was coming here too. Deku crouched down, voice gentle. "We won't let him hurt you," he said. The child sniffed. "But he can do anything." Deku swallowed. He didn't lie. "He can do a lot," Deku said softly. "But we can still do something." The child looked at him with watery eyes. "Like what?" Deku looked around at the shelter, at the families huddled together, at the volunteers passing blankets, at the pro-heroes standing guard even though their faces were pale. Deku answered, simple and true. "We can keep each other alive," he said. The child didn't fully understand, but the calm in Deku's voice helped. Deku stood and walked away, heart pounding. He found a quiet corner and opened his notebook again. He wrote one line, slow and steady. "Frieza treats people like items." Then another. "We have to prove people aren't items." He didn't know how yet, but he knew what the fight was. Not just against beams, against a way of thinking that turned lives into a list. In the shadows, All for One listened to reports with quiet satisfaction. The Tartarus incident had done two things. It had shown the world that even the best heroes could be pinned down, and it had shown Frieza's taste. He didn't destroy for fun. He destroyed to teach. That made him predictable in a strange way. Dr. Garaki trembled with excitement. He held them down like nothing, he whispered. It's like the air itself obeyed him. All for One's voice was smooth, and he still didn't erase the building, he said. He wants his new property intact. Garaki nodded fast. So our message worked. He's thinking. All for One tilted his head. He's always thinking, he corrected. He is simply choosing where to apply it. Garaki swallowed. Do you think he will accept an alliance? All for One chuckled softly. Not an alliance, he said. He doesn't share. He looked toward the dark window, imagining Frieza in the sky. But he may accept a tool, All for One continued, and tools can still shape outcomes. Garaki hesitated. And Shigaraki? All for One's smile under his mask sharpened. He will feel threatened, he said. That is useful too. Outside, the world moved in panic lines and shelter lists. Above it all, Frieza hovered again, calm as ever. His deadline ticked down, and everyone could feel the future bending, even if they didn't have words for it yet. 2 weeks passed, but the fear did not fade. It only changed shape. In the mornings, the streets were quieter than they used to be. People still went places, but they moved faster. They looked up more. They held their kids' hands tighter. Big public screens still played hero ads, but the smiles felt like masks now. Shelters became routine. Evacuation drills became normal. Police barriers stayed up in places where they never used to be. And above it all, there was always the idea of him, Lord Frieza. Deku learned that people could get used to almost anything, even a nightmare. He saw it in the shelter lines. At first, everyone cried and shouted and begged for answers. After a week, they mostly whispered. After 2 weeks, they stood in line and asked simple questions. Do you have water? Is there room? Is it safe today? Deku answered what he could. He carried boxes. He guided families to cots. He lifted broken boards and moved rubble with careful strength so nobody got hurt. He tried to keep his face calm because kids watched his face more than they listened to his words. Bakugo worked too, because there was nowhere to put all that anger except it on into something useful. He hauled heavy loads like he wanted to break them. He never smiled. He never admitted he was scared. But he looked up at the sky more than he thought anyone noticed. Todoroki helped with structure and safety, ice ramps, fire to warm cold rooms, clean, efficient fixes. He spoke little, but when he did, it was always the right thing. Aizawa did not sleep much. Deku could tell just by looking at him. His eyes were red more often than not. His scarf stayed wrapped tight, like armor. He supervised student teams, but he also vanished for long stretches. When he returned, he carried the smell of smoke and concrete and long nights. All Might spent most of those days moving through shelters and small hero stations. He did it in his thin form to save power. He spoke to people one group at a time. He listened to anger and fear and grief. He did not promise a quick win. He promised effort. He promised that heroes would still stand. That promise mattered. It did not fix the sky, but it kept people from breaking. Hawks became a ghost that lived between rooftops and meeting rooms. He tracked Frieza's movement like you track a storm that chooses where to land. He also tracked the other storm, public trust. When trust went down even a little, Hawks felt it like a bruise. Angry crowds, online rumors, people saying, "Why are we obeying the shelter orders? What's the point?" People saying, "Maybe we should surrender if it keeps us alive." Hawks hated hearing that. He understood it too. That was what scared him most. Frieza did not spend those 2 weeks hunting heroes. He did something worse. He built a routine. He chose a coastal industrial zone that had already been cleared, a place with warehouses, cranes, and open space. It was easy to defend and easy to see. He turned the largest warehouse into what he called, with calm pride, an administration center. He did not need chairs or desks, but he liked them. He liked having a table to stand beside while he spoke. He liked having screens he could point at. He liked having humans scramble when he asked for something small. A planet manager, an org chart, a list of strong assets. The running joke would have been funny in a different world. Here, it made people sick. Frieza's staff was a mix of terrified criminals, captured Tartarus prisoners he decided were useful, and a few villains who came willingly because they thought this was their big chance. He gave them ranks. He gave them tasks. He punished mistakes fast. Not with screaming. With calm, clean consequences. One day, a villain tried to lie about a hero location to earn favor. Frieza listened politely, then asked a second villain to confirm. When the lie was exposed, Frieza did not rant. He simply floated the liar 3 feet off the ground and held him there, upside down, for an hour, while everyone watched. "Truth makes management easy," Frieza said. "Lies waste time." He did not say the word asset every day. Some days he said resources. Some days he said inventory. He treated the whole planet like a folder of documents that was not organized the way he liked. And still, there were signs he was getting restless. He paced sometimes. He hovered over the ocean and stared down as if looking for something under the waves. He asked the same questions over and over. Where are your leaders? Who signs for your nation? Why do you have so many agencies? Why is everyone so slow? The villains he used as staff learned the truth quickly. If they did not give Frieza something to do, Frieza would make his own entertainment. And that entertainment would be blood. One night, Hawks watched Frieza from far away through a scope. Frieza stood on a warehouse roof, arms behind his back, looking at the city lights in the distance. His posture was relaxed. His face was calm. That calm was the most terrifying part. Hawks spoke into comms, voice low. "He's bored," he said. Nezu's voice came back, quick and sharp. "We know." Aizawa's voice followed, flat. "Boredom is when he starts taking pieces off the board." Hawks swallowed. "We need a plan that keeps him busy without feeding him people." Nezu paused for the smallest moment, then said, "We are building options." Hawks almost laughed, but he didn't. He knew what options meant here. It meant ugly choices. The Hero Public Safety Commission held meetings that lasted so long that coffee cups piled up like rubble. One side of the table wanted strict control, more censorship, tighter orders, a public line that never cracked. The other side wanted transparency, a public truth that could build real trust. Both sides were afraid, and fear always made someone reach for power. A senior official spoke with a steady face. "We have received pressure from multiple ministries," she said. "They want to consider diplomatic contact." The word diplomatic sounded clean. It was not clean. A younger official asked, voice tight, "You mean surrender?" The senior official did not blink. "I mean survival," she replied. Hawks was in the back of the room again, hands in his pockets, wings tucked tight. He hated being in rooms like this. The air always felt stale, like decisions were made too far from the people who would bleed for them. He spoke before he could stop himself. "If you surrender, he won't stop," he said. The senior official looked at him. "And if we don't surrender, he may remove assets," she said, quoting Frieza's word with disgust. "How many do you plan to let die?" Hawks's jaw tightened. "I plan to stop as many as I can," he said. "And how?" she pressed. Hawks did not have a clean answer. That was the problem. He glanced at the screen showing shelter maps and evacuation zones. The whole country felt like it was being rearranged around one alien's mood. Then a calm voice broke in from the side. "We do not surrender," All Might said. He was there in his thin form, standing with his cane. His eyes were tired, but his voice was steady. The room quieted. All Might looked at them, one by one. "Surrender does not buy safety," he continued. "It buys delay, and it buys the habit of obedience." The senior official frowned. "And what do you offer instead?" All Might's expression softened. "We offer time," he said. "We offer rescue. We offer unity." The senior official's face hardened. "Time for what?" All Might looked down for a moment. Then he looked back up. "Time to find a way," he said simply, "and time to keep our humanity." No one clapped. It wasn't that kind of room. But Hawks felt something in his chest, ease, just a little. Not hope that they would win. Hope that they would not become what Frieza wanted. In the dark, All for One also watched Frieza's routine. He listened to reports from spies and villains and stolen cameras. He learned Frieza's habits. He learned the way Frieza spoke. He learned what Frieza found funny and what Frieza found insulting. All for One did not mistake Frieza for a mindless monster. Frieza was a ruler, and rulers could be played if you were careful. All for One decided it was time to meet in person, not with a phone device, not with a disposable Nomu, with his own voice. He chose a place underground, away from the eyes of heroes. An abandoned metro station with dead lights and stale air. He prepared guards, not because he thought they could stop Frieza, because he wanted witnesses who would survive long enough to learn. He sent a message through one of Frieza's staff, dressed as a nervous courier, carrying a white folder like an office worker delivering paperwork. The message was simple. A meeting, an offer, a location. Frieza arrived 10 minutes early. The air in the metro station tightened before anyone saw him. Dust lifted off the floor as if the ground itself was nervous. Then Frieza floated down the staircase, calm and smiling, as if he had just walked into a quiet restaurant. All for One stood waiting, hands folded, posture relaxed. His mask faced forward like a polite smile. "Lord Frieza," All for One greeted. Frieza looked him up and down. "So you're the one who called himself All for One," Frieza said. "You look like a local myth." All for One chuckled softly. "A myth can be useful," he replied, "and I can be very useful." Frieza's eyes narrowed. "Useful," he repeated again, pleased by the word. All for One gestured to a table that had been set up with documents and a map. "This world is complex," he said. "Many nations, many systems, many hero agencies. It can be inefficient." Frieza smiled. "Yes, I noticed." All for One leaned slightly forward. "I can give you structure," he said. "Names, networks, weak points. The right people to frighten, the right people to tempt." Frieza floated closer, eyes calm and sharp. "And what do you want?" he asked. All for One's voice stayed smooth. "A position," he said. "A role. Protection from your judgment. Influence over the new order." Frieza stared at him for a long moment. Then he drifted to the table and picked up one of the papers between two fingers. It was a detailed chart of hero agency connections, funding lines, and public sentiment triggers. It was the kind of map that could break a society without a single beam. Frieza looked impressed, just a little. "This is good," he said. All for One's mask tilted. "Then we understand each other." Frieza looked up. His smile sharpened. "We do not," Frieza said. All for One did not move. "Explain," he said calmly. Frieza floated closer until he was directly in front of All for One. "I do not share power," Frieza said, voice quiet. "I told you that already." All for One's tone stayed polite. "I'm not asking for equal power," he said. "I am asking to be a trusted tool." Frieza's eyes narrowed. "Tools don't negotiate," he replied. Then, Frieza lifted one finger. All for One's body rose off the ground, held in place by invisible force. His guards moved on instinct. Frieza did not look at them. He pressed down. Every guard slammed into the floor, pinned, gasping, unable to move. All for One's breath remained steady. He was still calm. But inside, a cold truth spread through him. This was not a man to manipulate like the others. Frieza studied All for One like a product. "What are you?" Frieza asked. "You smell like stolen power." All for One's voice stayed smooth. "I collect quirks," he said. "I take what I want." Frieza laughed softly. "Then you are a thief," he said, "on a small scale." All for One's tone tightened just a fraction. "Small is relative." Frieza's smile widened. "Yes," he agreed, "it is." Frieza lowered All for One until his feet touched the ground again, but the pressure did not fully leave. It was like a hand still resting on his shoulders. Frieza tapped the folder. "I will take this," he said. "I will use it." All for One spoke carefully. "And my role?" Frieza leaned in close, almost friendly. "Your role," Frieza said, "is to remain alive because you are entertaining." All for One's mask did not change, but his mind burned with anger. He swallowed it down. Frieza drifted back, turning as if the meeting was already done. "Oh," Frieza added, like he had remembered a detail. "Do not try to betray me." All for One's voice was calm. "Of course not." Frieza paused, then spoke with pleasant certainty. "I can feel fear," he said, "and I can feel lies." All for One's mind stayed cold. "Then I will be honest," he said. Frieza nodded, satisfied. "Good." He floated upward toward the ceiling, then vanished in a blink of speed, leaving only a flutter of dust and the smell of cold air. When the pressure lifted, guards gasped and rolled over, coughing. All for One stood still, hands still folded. Then, when no one could see his eyes, His fingers tightened. Frieza had taken the map, but All for One had learned something too. Frieza was not looking for a partner. He was looking for a stage, and he was looking for someone to kneel. All for One did not kneel. Not now. But he would plan like he always did. 3 days later, Frieza made a new announcement. He did not speak through a hacked screen or a stolen broadcast. He simply floated above the biggest cleared public square in the region, where drones could see him from every angle, and he spoke in a voice that carried. "This planet is disorganized," Frieza said, "so I have created a temporary structure." Behind him, several villains hovered in the air, held by invisible force, their faces pale. They were not prisoners in chains. They were prisoners in the air. "These," Frieza continued, "are my local managers." One villain tried to struggle. Frieza pressed slightly. The villain froze, sweating. Frieza smiled. "They will carry out tasks," he said. "They will deliver reports. They will enforce compliance." Down below, pro-heroes watched from a safe distance, unable to engage without risking a massacre. Hawks watched through a scope and muttered under his breath. He really built an org chart. Aizawa, beside him, didn't laugh. "He built a leash," he said. Frieza lifted a hand, as if flipping to a second page. "The hero system may continue," he announced, "with permits." Hawks' eyes widened. "Permits?" Frieza nodded as if the word was perfectly normal. "Yes," he said, "if you insist on licensing hero work, then you will now require my approval." He smiled, pleased with his own logic. "It is only fair," he said. "I am the owner." The crowd in the shelter zones, watching through screens, reacted in waves. Anger, fear, confusion. On a nearby rooftop, Deku watched the broadcast with his classmates. His stomach felt like it was full of stones. Bakugo snarled, "He thinks he can run this place." Todoroki's eyes stayed calm. "He can," he said quietly. "The question is what we do while he tries." Aizawa's voice came through the student comm line a moment later. "This is what I meant," he said. "He wants society to obey without him needing to destroy it." Deku stared at Frieza's face on the screen. Frieza looked happy. Not because people were suffering, because the world was being forced to play his game. Deku's hands clenched. He whispered to himself, barely audible, "People aren't paperwork." That night, Nezu called a small meeting. All Might, Aizawa, Hawks, and a few top pros gathered in a secure room at UA. A city map glowed on the screen. Shelter lines, patrol routes, red zones, green zones. Nezu's voice was fast, but controlled. "Frieza is building a control network," he said. "Not a stable one, a fear one." Hawks leaned forward. "He's using villains as managers," he said. "That means his structure is already rotten." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "Rotten structures collapse," he said. "And when it collapses, he gets bored." All Might looked down at his hands. "So, we keep it from collapsing violently," he said. Nezu nodded. "We cannot remove Frieza," he said. "But we can shape what he gets from this world." Hawks frowned. "What does he want most?" Aizawa answered without hesitation. "Control," he said, "and pride." Nezu's ears twitched. "Then our goal is simple," he said. "We deny him clean control." All Might looked up. "Without feeding him civilians," he added. Nezu clicked to a new screen showing a wide coastal area, already evacuated, with minimal structures. "We will offer him a formal meeting," Nezu said. "A surrender theater." Hawks's eyebrows rose. "You want to pretend?" Nezu's eyes gleamed. "We want to buy time," he said. "We want him to focus on a stage, not on random asset removal." Aizawa's voice was flat. "He will know it's a trap." Nezu nodded. "Yes," he said. "But a trap can still work if it gives him something he wants." All Might's jaw tightened. "He wants humiliation," he said. Hawks nodded slowly. "He wants the symbol to crack," All Might's eyes hardened. "Then I won't crack," he said. Aizawa stared at him. "You can't keep doing this alone," he said. All Might's smile was faint. "I'm not alone," he replied. He glanced at the screen showing the hero network across the country. Thousands of people moving because heroes told them to. All Might's voice softened. "That is what he can't understand," he said. "We move together." Nezu looked at Hawks. "We will need speed," he said, "and we will need careful messaging. If this goes wrong, panic explodes." Hawks exhaled. "So, we stage a meeting," he said, "and we treat it like it matters, while we quietly protect people everywhere else." Aizawa nodded once. "And if he attacks?" Nezu's voice stayed calm. "Then we execute evacuation contingencies and accept that we cannot stop him physically," he said. "But we can still stop total collapse." All Might looked at the map again. "We fight for the world to keep breathing," he said. Deku wasn't in the room, but that sentence would reach him anyway, through the way everyone started moving with purpose again. The next morning, a message reached Frieza's warehouse. It came through one of his managers, delivered with shaking hands. A sealed envelope, a simple line. "Formal meeting. Designated zone. Officials will attend. Documents will be presented." Frieza read it and smiled. "Finally," he said, "they understand time management." One of the villains, sweating, asked carefully, "Are you going to accept their surrender?" Frieza looked at him like the answer was obvious. "I'm going to enjoy it," Frieza said. He floated out of the warehouse and rose into the sky. "Prepare the folder," he added, as if folders mattered. The villain blinked. "Folder?" Frieza's eyes narrowed. "Yes," he said. "If this planet insists on paper, then we will use paper." The villain swallowed and nodded like his life depended on it. Because it did. The meeting zone was a wide coastal flatland, cleared days ago. There were no tall buildings, no crowded streets. Only open sky, ocean wind, and a simple stage of metal platforms set up by the government. From far away, it looked like a ceremony. Up close, it was a rescue plan wearing a costume. Hidden teams surrounded the area. Medical squads, transport squads, barrier support. Pro-heroes spread wide, not for attack, but for damage control. All Might stood near the center, in his muscle form for now. His smile was present, but his eyes were serious. Hawks hovered at a distance, ready to move people fast if something went wrong. Aizawa stood in shadow at the stage edge, watching for villains and watching for panic. Nezu watched through cameras, guiding everything like a conductor. Deku was not supposed to be there. He was supposed to be at the shelter support site, like always. But he had overheard enough. He had seen enough. He had made a choice that scared him. He was at the far edge with a supervised student rescue team, assigned to medical relay. He was not here to fight. He knew he could not fight Frieza. He was here because he could not stand behind a wall while his world was being signed away. His heart pounded so hard it hurt. He repeated the mission in his head like a rule. Save people. Move people. Keep calm. Frieza arrived like a shadow dropping out of the sky. 1 second there was empty air. The next, he hovered above the stage, arms behind his back, smiling down at them. He wore no crown. He didn't need one. "So," Frieza said, voice clear in the open air, "this is the surrender ceremony." Government officials stood stiffly, pale and sweating. A speaker stepped forward with a folder, hands trembling. All Might stepped forward before the official could speak. "Frieza," All Might said. Frieza's eyes slid to him. "Symbol," he replied, pleased. All Might's voice was steady. "Before anything is signed," he said, "I need you to hear something." Frieza's smile thinned. "You want to negotiate," he said. Again. All Might nodded. "Yes," he said, "because people are watching, and because what you're doing is wrong." A few officials flinched at the word wrong. Frieza looked amused. "Are you giving me a morality lecture at my own ceremony?" he asked. All Might did not back down. "I'm telling you the truth," he said. "You can take land. You can break buildings. You can threaten lives." He took a breath. "But you cannot own hearts," All Might said. "You cannot own hope." For a moment, the wind was the only sound. Frieza stared at All Might. Then he laughed. "Oh, you're wonderful," Frieza said. "You really believe that?" All Might's jaw tightened. "I do." Frieza floated lower, close enough that the officials behind All Might took involuntary steps back. "Then let's test your belief," Frieza said softly. He lifted one finger. The metal stage bent slightly under invisible pressure. Officials gasped. One dropped the folder. All Might stayed still. Frieza's red eyes narrowed. "One word from me," he said, "and this entire coast becomes a crater." All Might's voice was quiet now, but firm. "And then you would have a ruined planet," he said. "You said you wanted order. You said you wanted ownership. Owners don't smash what they want to keep." Frieza's smile returned. Slow. "You're learning my language," he said. All Might answered, "I'm using your logic against you." Frieza seemed to enjoy that. Then his eyes shifted past All Might, scanning the wider perimeter, as if he could smell the hidden plans. His gaze landed briefly on the student medical relay zone. Deku felt like ice poured down his spine. Frieza's eyes lingered for half a second on Deku's face. Then Frieza looked back at All Might. "You brought children," Frieza said, voice calm. All Might's eyes hardened. "They are not here to fight," he said. "They are here to save." Frieza tilted his head. "Interesting," he said. "You're weak. Protect your weak." All Might's voice sharpened. "That is what heroes do." Frieza smiled wider. "Then here is my offer," he said. He raised his voice, making sure cameras caught every word. "I will allow your hero system to continue," Frieza announced. "You will keep your little licenses. You will keep your uniforms." He gestured like he was granting a bonus. "But you will operate under my approval," he continued. "Your agencies will report. Your leaders will submit. Your symbols will obey." He looked down at All Might like a man offering a deal. "And you," Frieza said, "will kneel in public." All Might's smile did not move, but Deku could see the pain in his eyes. All Might's voice was steady. "No." Frieza's smile vanished. It wasn't rage yet. It was disappointment. "I gave you a chance to be smart," Frieza said. All Might didn't flinch. "You gave us a chance to be afraid," he replied. "We will not build our future on fear." For a heartbeat, Frieza's eyes looked empty. Then he lifted his hand again. The air pressed down. The stage groaned. People staggered. Deku's knees bent under the weight. He clenched his teeth and stayed standing. Barely. Hawks' wings trembled in the air. He fought to keep altitude. Aizawa's eyes widened as he felt the pressure crush his chest. He couldn't erase it. He couldn't stop it. Frieza floated above them all, calm, as if showing a simple demonstration. "This," Frieza said, voice cold, "is reality." All Might strained, muscles shaking. His smile stayed on his face like it was glued there by will. Frieza looked at him for a long moment. Then, suddenly, the pressure lifted. Everyone gasped. Some collapsed. Medics moved fast. Frieza drifted down and landed on the stage lightly. He looked at the fallen folder and picked it up, holding it like it was a joke. He flipped it open. Blank pages. No signatures. No surrender document. Just paper. Frieza stared at it, silent. Then he laughed again, but this time the laugh was not amused. It was sharp. "You tried to waste my time," Frieza said. All Might met his eyes. "We tried to protect people," All Might said. Frieza's gaze flicked to the camera drones. He could see them. He knew the world was watching. He wanted control. He wanted obedience. And right now, on camera, He was being denied it. That stung his pride more than any punch ever could. Frieza's eyes narrowed. Then he did something no one expected. He looked past All Might again, toward Deku. He floated off the stage and stopped in the air in front of the student zone, close enough that Deku could see every detail of his calm face. Deku's heart slammed in his chest. He wanted to move. He wanted to protect someone. He wanted to do something heroic. His body did not listen. The pressure of Frieza's presence alone felt like standing too close to a roaring engine. Frieza studied Deku's face, then his uniform. "A child soldier," Frieza said lightly. Deku forced his voice out. "I'm a student," he said. "I'm here to help people." Frieza's smile returned, small and cruel. "Helping," he repeated. "How noble." He leaned in slightly. "Tell me your name." Deku swallowed hard. "Izuku Midoriya," he said. Frieza nodded, as if logging it. "You have strong eyes," Frieza said. "You're afraid, but you're still standing." Deku's hands shook. He hated that they shook. Frieza's voice softened, almost friendly. "Do you want to be useful?" he asked. Deku's mind flashed with warning lights. Useful meant tool. He forced himself to answer honestly. "I want to save people," he said. Frieza's smile sharpened. "Then join me," Frieza said. "I can give you power. Real power. No licenses, no committees, no fragile symbols." Deku's breath caught. The offer was insane. It was also terrifying, because a tiny part of him understood the temptation. Power meant he could protect everyone. Power meant he could stop beams. Power meant he wouldn't feel helpless again. Deku felt that thought rise like a snake, and then he crushed it. He thought of the crying child in the shelter. He thought of All Might standing up from a crater. He thought of Aizawa's tired eyes. He lifted his chin, even though his throat was tight. "No," Deku said. Frieza blinked. "No." Deku's voice shook, but it did not break. "People aren't assets," he said. "They aren't paperwork. You can't own them." For a moment, everything felt still. Hawks watched from the air, frozen, thinking, "Kid, please don't die." Aizawa's eyes widened, body ready to move even though he knew it wouldn't matter. All Might took one step forward, voice low. "Midoriya." Frieza stared at Deku. Then, slowly, he smiled. Not angry. Interested. "You're brave," Frieza said. "Or foolish." Deku's stomach turned cold because he remembered those exact words. Frieza floated closer, close enough that Deku could feel the air shift. "Do you know what happens to brave fools in my empire?" Frieza asked softly. Deku swallowed and kept his eyes up. "They keep trying," he said. Frieza laughed, genuinely amused this time. "Oh, you are going to be fun," Frieza said. He turned away from Deku and floated back toward the stage. All Might exhaled like he had been holding his breath for a year. Frieza faced the cameras again, holding the blank folder up. "I see," Frieza said. "Your leaders are hiding behind theater." He let the folder fall. The pages fluttered in the wind. "Very well," he continued. "New policy." The officials flinched. Frieza's voice was calm, like he was reading a memo. "I will not waste time chasing signatures," he said. "This planet will operate under my administration whether you sign or not." He lifted one hand and pointed, not at the city, but at the sea. A purple beam shot into the ocean far away. The water exploded upward in a tall pillar. The shockwave rolled in a long ripple. It was a display, not a massacre. A warning that could be seen for miles. Frieza lowered his hand. "This is your final lesson," he said. "If you cooperate, you keep your cities. If you resist, I remove assets until you learn." He smiled. "And if you try to trick me again," he added, "I remove symbols first." All Might stepped forward, voice steady. "We will not obey," he said. Frieza looked at him like a teacher looking at a stubborn student. "You will," Frieza replied. "Eventually, He floated upward. Then he paused, as if remembering a detail, and looked down at the hero line. "Oh," he said, "you're Shadow King." Everyone tensed. Hawks' eyes widened. Frieza smiled toward the distance, as if speaking to someone not present. "All for one," Frieza said, voice loud enough for cameras. "Your map was useful." A ripple of shock moved through the heroes. Aizawa's face hardened. "He knows," he whispered. Frieza's smile widened like he enjoyed the chaos he had just planted. "Consider yourself promoted," Frieza called out, amused. "Temporary regional manager." Then Frieza laughed and vanished into the sky, leaving only a gust of wind and a crowd of people trembling under the weight of what they had heard. That night, the country didn't sleep. People talked about the meeting, about the blank folder, about All Might refusing, about the student who had looked a monster in the face and said no. Some people felt hope. Some people felt rage. Some people felt terror. The commission panicked in private and tried to control the public story in public. But the story was already alive, spreading faster than any order could stop. All for One watched the broadcast from a hidden room, perfectly still. When Frieza said his name on air, it was not just a threat. It was a hook. All for One's hands tightened in his lap. He understood what Frieza had done. Frieza had marked him. Frieza had told the world, "There is a shadow leader here, and I can use him." That would pull heroes toward All for One again. It would pull fear toward him. It would pull chaos. Frieza had tossed a match into a room full of gas. All for One did not scream. He did not throw anything. He simply leaned back and laughed softly. "Fine," he murmured. "If you want a stage, I know how to build stages too." Days passed. Then weeks. Frieza did not start erasing cities. He did not need to. He kept hovering. He kept issuing policies. He kept using villains as managers and making them deliver messages and lists. Sometimes he struck a remote area as a warning. Sometimes he punished a manager who failed him. He stayed just violent enough to keep fear alive, and just controlled enough to keep the world intact. That was the new horror. Heroes adapted. They built faster shelters. They improved evacuation routes. They created emergency signals for when Frieza moved. Hawks and other fast pros became lifelines for cities. Aizawa trained teams to handle villain chaos without causing panic. Nezu worked like a machine, planning for everything that could be planned. All Might traveled constantly, keeping hope alive like it was a job that never ended. And Deku did what he always did. He learned. He watched patterns. He studied Frieza's habits. He wrote notes, not just about power, but about choices, about pride, about boredom, about what made Frieza pause. Deku learned that even a monster had buttons you could press, not to win, to buy time, to save lives. That was enough for now. On a quiet evening, Yue's dorm common room was calmer than it had been in weeks. Not safe, just calmer. Deku sat at a table with his notebook open. The pages were filled with simple, careful notes, not fancy words, just truth he could use. All Might walked in, thin form, holding 2 cups of tea. He set one down near Deku. Deku looked up fast. "All Might," he said. All Might smiled softly. "You did well," he said. Deku's face tightened. "I didn't do anything," he whispered. All Might shook his head. "You stood," he said. "That matters." Deku stared into the tea like it might have answers. "I was scared," Deku admitted. All Might's smile didn't fade. "So was I," he said. Deku looked up, surprised. All Might sat across from him. "Courage is not being unafraid," All Might said. "It is choosing what you do while you are afraid." Deku swallowed. "He offered me power," he said quietly. All Might's eyes sharpened. "And you refused?" Deku nodded. "Because it wasn't hero power," he said. It was ownership. All Might's gaze softened. Yes, he said. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, the campus lights glowed. The world kept moving, even under a shadow. Deku finally asked the question that had been stuck in his chest. Can we ever beat him? Deku asked. All Might did not lie. I don't know, he said. Deku's throat tightened. All Might leaned forward slightly. But I do know this, he continued. We can keep saving people. We can keep standing. And we can keep making the world harder for him to control. Deku nodded slowly, the fear still there, but shaped into something steadier. All Might, Deku whispered. What if he never leaves? All Might looked toward the window, toward the distant sky. Then we become the kind of heroes who can live under pressure, he said, and still be good. Deku held on to that sentence like a rope. Far away, in the coastal warehouse, Frieza sat in a chair he didn't need. A villain manager stood trembling in front of him, holding a clipboard. Frieza listened as the manager read off reports, voice shaking. Shelter operations increased, the manager said. Hero patrols are... Frieza raised a hand. The manager froze mid-sentence. Frieza's eyes were calm. You're boring me, Frieza said. The manager's face went white. I'm sorry, Lord Frieza. Frieza sighed and waved his hand again, releasing him. Bring me something interesting, Frieza said. A challenge, a rebellion, a strong fighter. Something. The manager nodded so hard it looked like his neck might break. He fled. Frieza leaned back and stared up at the ceiling. He had taken planets before. This one was strange. Not because it was strong, because it refused to collapse neatly. It kept standing back up. Frieza smiled faintly, amused and annoyed at the same time. On the table beside him was a piece of paper. A crude, planet ownership form one of the managers had made, trying to please him. It had boxes and lines and even a stamp. Frieza picked it up and read it like it mattered. Then he signed it with a flourish, just because he could. He pressed the stamp down hard. Thump. He looked at the fresh mark and smiled. Much better, he said. Outside, the ocean wind blew. In the distance, city lights flickered like a living thing refusing to die. Frieza's smile sharpened. Keep running, he murmured. Keep hoping. His eyes narrowed with quiet pleasure. It makes the game last longer. And in a world that had learned fear in a new way, heroes kept moving anyway. Not because they were sure they would win, because people still needed saving.